Are we ready?
I think we're ready.
Are we ready to take this seriously?
Wait, let me get
3 minutes of vocal warm-ups. So we're good?
We're good.
Welcome, everybody, to Krypton to Alderaan, the podcast that hates sand. That one's short and sweet because we got a lot to get through. I'm Joey, and with me is Royce.
Hey, podcast.
And Robin.
Podcast!
All right. We are, as I've said, Krypton to Alderaan, the podcast that talks about all kinds of nerdy pop culture things, but it's mostly Star Wars. And it really is just mostly Star Wars. If you'd like to get in touch with us, we can be reached at Krypton Alderaan on Twitter and at kryptontoalderaan@gmail.com.
Great job.
I did it all right this time, so you don't have to cut it in later.
It's going to save so much time.
Halfway through the show, except now you have to cut this,
right?
Which added the time back. It's a net zero.
Sorry, future Royce.
Okay, but before we get into the Star Wars this week, we're going to talk about what we're into. And what I've been into is I just finished it on the way over to the recording studio. Peek behind the curtain, we record in the studio.
Big shots.
I have listened to the audiobook version of Star Wars Ahsoka, written by E.K. Johnston and narrated by the woman who is the voice actor for Ahsoka on the Clone Wars TV show, Ashley Eckstein. Man, I really enjoyed it. It's very good. It takes place after Order 66, and Ahsoka's trying to find her way in the outer rim of the galaxy, trying to not bring too much attention to herself. She's cut herself off from the Force. All the clones, besides, as far as she knows, besides Rex, betrayed everybody. She thinks everyone's dead. She can't sense any of the other Jedi. So she's dealing with all of that. It has a lot to do with her finding her place in the galaxy post-Order 66. And it's really just a great story. It's written really well. It's great that they got the voice actor who played her on TV to narrate the book. I highly recommend it if you like Star Wars and love Ahsoka, like I do. The end. What do you got, Royce?
Me? So I'll keep mine brief in spirit of saving time so we can talk about other stuff. And I'm also going to shamelessly self-promote myself in the process.
You're going to self-promote yourself?
Yeah, is that okay? Can I exploit the podcast?
You go for it.
So 2 weeks ago, as we're recording this, I did not have a song for my YouTube channel, Royish Good Looks, in which I post, much like this podcast, 95% Star Wars stuff, specifically Star Wars songs, 5% Rick and Morty songs. But I didn't have a song last week, and I was definitely like, I don't know if I'm going to have one. And I put one out this morning. It's called Let the Past Die. The song is a banger. Go check it out on my YouTube channel. I didn't think I was going to have a song this Christmas, but Christmas is saved.
Thank God.
And now I can get back to real important stuff like actually trying to celebrate Christmas because I haven't finished all my shopping. So that's next on my list to do.
And if you're a first-time listener, go and check out last week's episode to hear Royce talk about how he didn't have a song planned. All right. What do you got, Robin?
Mine is even shorter and sweeter because this week I'm into gingerbread houses.
And baking.
I baked like 200 cookies last weekend. And then today I built a teeny tiny gingerbread doghouse. And then we have a bigger gingerbread house that will hopefully be done in the next few days. And that's all I got.
That was your prototype, and now you're working up to the big.
Because I haven't built a gingerbread house in probably at least 10 years. So I was like,
a little rusty.
They're tricky. So I wanted to test it out on the tiny version, and now we can build the house and put the doghouse next to it and probably never eat them.
Adorable.
I was wondering when we were going to eat them.
We can eat them, but I want to build them both first. So
we should probably eat them. I've included myself.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. 2 weeks from whenever.
Yeah. Also, we were eating your cookies before recording the podcast, and I meant to have one more cookie, so I hope that somebody else can talk for a little while, because I'm about to have another one of your cookies.
You know me, I'm going to do a whole lot of talking.
Sweet.
All right, so back to me. This episode, we are going to talk all about episodes 5 and 6 of The Mandalorian, and we're going to do as best we can to get through those as quickly as possible.
We're going to take a big bite out of this.
I was supposed to be talking while you ate a cookie. We're going to try to get through that quickly so that we could talk about Rise of Skywalker. So here we go. So The Mandalorian Episode 5, Chapter 5, The Gunslinger, written and directed by Dave Filoni of Star Wars fame. Last week we said he's very Star Wars smart. I said it. It's a phrase that I came up with.
Trademarked.
Yeah.
We got to put that in a t-shirt.
Unfortunately, I still believe that. I really do. He's heralded this new age of Star Wars in many ways, and very good Star Wars. This episode will be very easy to discuss quickly because nothing really happens, and it's definitely the weakest link, in my opinion. I will say I still think it was good, but just a whole lot of nothing happened in it. So let's do, I guess, a brief little recap. Not a whole lot of Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda light, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as him like doing stuff, maybe a whole lot of fan service.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise. But I
I'm
have
ready
some
for the
theories.
fan service rant. You can save that one, man. I got your back.
I have some theories.
I got another bite of this cookie, but
I have some theories about how it might not have entirely been fan service as we think, but we'll get into that. Skipping right along, the Mandalorian has an air fight at the beginning, and he has to land on Tatooine to get his ship fixed. Like, that's where he's at, which makes sense.
Sorgan must be out in the outer rim. Tatooine's in the
He's
outer rim.
trying to stick to the outer rim to remain sort of undetected, but it just
Plausible.
happens to be I mean, it's a big galaxy. Just happens to be Tatooine. His ship needs repairs, and he docks it somewhere and meets this woman. I don't know the actress's name. Peli Motto?
Amy Sedaris.
Amy Sedaris? Mm-hmm. Okay. So she really hits it off with Baby Yoda. That's the Baby Yoda set. And I really thought he was going to leave Baby Yoda with her. They keep making me think that he's going to leave Baby Yoda somewhere, and then in the last 2 minutes of the episode, something happens, and he's like, it's not safe. So he leaves Baby Yoda with her. She's got these annoying pit droids that are just annoying, right?
Yeah.
I'm right,
That's
right?
part of the fan service stuff. They were just there. He doesn't want the droids fixing the ship, so the lady's going to fix the ship without
Yeah.
the droids. He says, fix my ship. I'm going to go do some work.
He
And she's
still
like, you got to
hates
pay me,
droids.
dude. And he was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So he goes to the Mos Eisley Cantina, the exact place. Oh man, you can't tell anything that happened in this episode without going on the fan service rant. But he
Yeah.
goes to the bar and meets up with a rookie bounty hunter.
Yes, his name
Who's looking
is
for help.
Toro Calican. But I also think that they're sitting in the booth.
It's supposed to be the same spot
I
as
believe
Han
that
and
they are
Greedo or
sitting in
whatever.
the same booth.
Whatever.
Yeah,
When you go to Tatooine, you get these cool. You
Yeah.
have to go to that spot.
sure. I mean, I don't know how many cantinas there are on Tatooine. So there's really not that much to go into. This kid wants to get into the bounty hunting guild, so he's taken on this charge. His first mark is this elite assassin that everyone fears and no one is able to kill.
Right. And even the Mandalorian is like, you don't want to go after her, dude.
Yeah, so
But he wants into the guild real bad. And then for some reason, the Mandalorian is just cool picking up every side story in the video game. This is the problem with this episode and the next one is they're not following the Yoda plot line, the Baby Yoda plot line.
Yeah.
He just keeps doing these side missions and he's like, I'll leave Baby Yoda with somebody else. He'll be safe and I'll do the one-off missions. And that's what you're getting at is like, this was just a one-off side mission, except for the end. So
Right.
he
So-
helps this bounty hunter try to track down
Fennec Shand.
Bingo. So they track her down, then they do a classic double cross.
She convinces the kid to double cross the Mandalorian because
Right.
she knows that the Mandalorian is a wanted man.
Right, why turn me in? Turn him in. The bounty hunter
Right,
guild
he's
doesn't like him.
He's got some kind of bounty. He stole bounty from the guild, and he's worth a lot more than I am.
Right. So he shoots Fennec.
The kid
Toro,
does,
the kid,
yeah.
shoots Fennec, presumably killed or injured.
Right.
And he goes after the Mandalorian, unsuccessfully so.
Well, he goes to steal Baby Yoda. He's got Baby Yoda. The Mandalorian returns, finds Fennec dead, goes back to his ship, and the kid has Baby Yoda.
He's got him hostage.
Right. And whatever. I mean, the Mandalorian shoots the kid and saves Baby Yoda.
One-ups him.
Right.
They made you worry for a second that Baby Yoda got injured or something there, but obviously that's not the case.
Yeah.
They do a lot of is Baby Yoda okay? Of course he's okay.
Yeah, he's Baby Yoda.
And then they cut from that scene. Mandalorian, Yoda are reunited. They're off on their way.
Yep.
And then they cut back to the desert where Fennec Shand is lying on the ground in the Tatooine desert. Somebody shows up.
Somebody with a cape. Now, when I saw that scene, okay, so this is what I want to talk to a little bit. Because obviously starting off, we're like, oh, well, why would they go to Tatooine? This is kind of silly. I'm not really into this. And then that scene happened. And I was like, it's probably Esposito's character, right?
I was thinking it was going to be...
Carl Weathers.
Yeah, Grief Karga, Carl
Yeah.
Weathers' character.
For a split second, I was like, it's probably Giancarlo Esposito's character. The guy from...
Somebody's hot on Mando's tail.
this guy. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the guy from Breaking Bad.
Right. But then I thought, like, and it's another thing that needs to be brought into canon, is Boba Fett.
Yeah,
I
that's what a
mean,
lot of
he's
people
got, it
thinking
looks
was
like Mandalorian armor and possibly the cape.
Sure.
And it's the last place we saw Boba Fett. And it's not canon anymore that he survived the events of Return of the Jedi. They're bringing more and more stuff back into canon. I just sort of didn't understand why they would go to Tatooine unless they're going to introduce Boba Fett.
Yeah, and he's
which I
looking
think
for his
would
own
be-
bounty.
Right. I think it would be a cool thing to do. At least like maybe setting up, they've already talked about season 2. Maybe he can be like a big bad of season 2. But who knows? I don't know. I thought the episode was mostly like, why would he go to Tatooine? This is like fan service that nobody wants.
No. So
But then
do you
unless-
think it's Boba Fett or not?
I think it's Boba Fett. I think it's Boba Fett, and I would like it to be Boba Fett.
Who do you think it is, Robin?
I think it's Grief Karga.
Yeah.
It doesn't really look like Grief Karga from the little bit that we see.
They want you to be guessing about it. It makes for a really good Twitter conversation.
They just left him hanging several episodes ago. So is he ever going to come back? So my immediate assumption was it has to be him because who else would it
Did he
be?
wear a cape? I can't remember. If he
I
had
don't
a cape.
remember.
So Giancarlo Esposito, I hope that's how you say his name, something like that. He was on Conan recently, and Conan was like, when's your character showing up? And he's like, can't tell you.
Nice.
He's like, he's going to show up. And he's like, is he a good guy or bad guy, though? Because, like, you know, Baby Yoda, like, does he want him for good or evil? Didn't reveal anything.
Oh, he's got to be a bad guy.
Of
This guy
course he's a
only
bad
plays
guy.
bad guys.
But he didn't
Yeah.
allude to anything. I thought that was very professional.
I
And he
like
was
that.
like, you just got to see it.
Yep, very good. Robin, I want us to bring up at the end of discussing the next episode, the Carl Weathers thing and leaving him sort of just on the hook out there in the galaxy somewhere. Let's talk about that again after talking about this next episode.
Okay.
Because I think there's a way to tie this all in together.
I have one more thing before we move on to the next episode.
And it's this cookie. I get to talk more.
No, so we mentioned the fan service thing.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni, Star Wars smart. I got respect. I haven't seen all Clone Wars or
Well, you
Rebels,
should.
and eventually I will, and I'll give respect. But this was fan service central. Pit Droid showed up. The mechanic mentioned carbon scoring.
Yeah.
Oh, you've been in a blaster fight. She mentioned Womp Rats. She mentioned Beggar's Canyon.
Yeah.
And when they were pinned down by Fennec Shand, she's got the high ground.
Yes, the high
Are you
ground
kidding
thing.
me with this? And then the mechanic is playing Sabak, I think, with the pit droids.
Uh-huh.
And at some point, they're like, we should just kill Fennec. And the Mandalorian says, she's no good to me dead.
Right. There's,
Are
I
you
think-
kidding me? That's like a dozen things. And that's
Yeah.
not including like the fact that they're at Mos Eisley, the cantina, yada, yada, yada. I think Fennec says Mos Espa at one point, which is where like the Bunta Eve pod race was or whatever.
There's
And
pod racing's mentioned, I think. I think pod racing's mentioned.
something like that. The suns are coming up. Oh, the two suns are coming up. I was
Are
like,
the Huts?
the Huts.
the Huts brought up?
She
Yeah.
worked for the Huts. There was a fuck ton of fan service.
Are you
man.
mad about it?
I'm only mad about it because why did you need to do that? It just didn't seem
agree.
necessary. The high ground thing, that is 100% fan service.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff, like Sabak, everyone plays solitaire or
Sure.
whatever. You know, like,
There's a lot of fan service, and I don't know why they did it. And really, there's only 8 episodes. You don't need a fluff episode. You know what I mean? Like, we've talked
to the
about this
point.
before, where if you have, especially one of these streaming services shows that are 15 episodes long, you've got 1 or 2 fluff episodes that you don't need. I don't understand why they did it with this one. But something that I think they've done on this show before and that Dave Filoni did all throughout the Clone Wars was incorporate lines of dialogue from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Like one-liners.
I guess it's just what you do. Like, that'll live on
it's just
forever.
a little like, they've been more like Easter eggs in episodes here and there.
The high ground thing, though,
That's
that's a meme. though.
Also,
It's not
not
serious
a
dialogue.
well-liked thing.
Right, people
like,
make
it's
fun
not
of it.
like that's what we think of when we think of Star Wars.
It's not
That's
May the
like
Force be with you.
a horrible thing that doesn't even make any sense. It's also a song by Royce Good Looks. Check out his YouTube channel. Okay, are we done with that episode? Anybody else got anything to
Let me
say?
scroll through real quick.
As soon as Amy Sidara showed up, I was like, I'm
Why?
out. This
Why is
better be
that?
good. She's just pretty much everything she's in. I think she's pretty funny and she's a good actress, but pretty much everything she is in, she plays a really annoying and or stupid character.
Yeah.
So I immediately was like, oh, so that's what they're doing with
I
this.
found that character pretty annoying in this. Also, that she's like never working on the ship. He like leaves the ship there for her to work on, and she's playing cards or hanging out with Baby Yoda. And
Yeah, but she said it was really hard.
yeah. Anyway, you got anything else on your list?
Oh, the Dune Sea was also mentioned. There was just a lot of like location callbacks, like you said. Speeder bikes,
Dewbacks.
Tusken Raiders that speak sign language.
I really like, so if there's something that I could point out that I liked in this episode, there's a couple of things,
That
but
was
I
a
really
cool
like
part.
that scene
I agree.
where the kid's like just ready to fight them and the Mandalorian's like, stop.
Gives him his binoculars.
Yeah, they were new. And the
Yeah.
Mando was like, yeah, they were.
That was great dialogue.
I really like that part. I
Agreed.
think the episode was good. I mean,
It was all right.
it wasn't a bad episode of television. It was just definitely at the bottom of the list for this show so far.
Side story, when they're leaving off with these cliffhangers that you're like, oh, he's going to come back for his revenge. Grief Karga is going to want to get back and, so he's been on the run, but no one's caught up to him. It's like kind of get to the point. There's only 8 episodes.
Yep.
And similar thought is going to echo into episode 2. So let's talk about episode 2.
See, I have a much
or
less
6, sorry.
I'll start by saying I really, really enjoyed this episode.
Episode 6, The Prisoner.
The Prisoner. This episode directed by, do you guys want to figure out how to say this last name?
Famuyiwa?
Rick F.
Famuyiwa?
Hey, Professor F.
Yeah, so I don't know. Go
Famu?
on
Mr.
goddamn
F.
Wikipedia if you want to know these for real. But
Rick F.
Rick Famuyiwa, he directed it.
Maybe consider a pen name.
And Christopher Yost and Rick F. Wrote it. So, spoiler alert, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought, it certainly got it back on track to what it was before the Gunslinger episode.
Interesting.
And there are so many recognizable faces in this episode as far as like other
actors,
well-known TV actors and stuff like that.
I thought that was a downside to me.
I'll talk about some downsides. I thought Bill Burr was not bad. So let's see. So we've got. Let's introduce the cast.
Yeah, sure,
We've
get the
got
guest
his
stars.
old partner Ran, who's whatever. He's been in several other things.
Is it the
We've got
beardo guy
Yeah.
the guy he meets, the guy who gives him the job,
with the long beard?
introduces him to the
Yeah.
crew.
I
And
know him
we've
from
got
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy. Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say. We've got Bill Burr, who plays Mayfield. We've got a Devaronian. Do you know what those devil things are called?
Hellboy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got one of those devil things.
Hellboy.
His
I
name,
thought he
Boy.
was Hellboy.
his name is Berg.
Played by Mr. Krabs. Clancy Jones
Yes.
or whatever his name is. Yeah.
So, okay, let's do that. So Clancy, whatever, he's a voice actor, a pretty well-known voice actor. He also has voice acted for Star Wars before. For Dave Filoni in the Clone Wars, he plays Darth Maul's brother, Savage. We've got the woman who plays the Twi'lek. I'm going to say 2 things about. Did you guys recognize her? She's from Game of Thrones.
She
plays the
Wildling?
wildling from Game of Thrones that becomes the Starks, like Brandon Stark's protector woman.
Yeah.
That's her.
Yeah. Huh.
And I think what do you guys think? Do you agree? I think we could make a generalization that Twi'leks do not translate well to live action. Like they just look like rubber, which I guess if in live action you look like rubber, then that's just what your alien species looks like. But
Right.
I just don't think
I
that translates well to live action.
I thought both of them looked incredibly stupid.
Both Twi'leks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think it was, I
corny.
mean, I think they did the best they can without like making it CGI.
They gave them like
gave a
little
butt head.
hats so they could make it look better wherever the Twi'lek ears connected
Yeah.
with their heads, I think. I was like, they're wearing these funny hats.
But I was watching that and I was like, so your entire species just wears these tiny little headbands or
Well,
whatever?
Yeah, they are in the animated series. And it just, I mean, obviously it's going to look better there because you could do whatever you want with it. But that's just a little production thing that I think was weird and very distracting for me while watching it.
There is one in the original trilogy, though, right? But it's blue, not purple.
Yes, in the original trilogy.
In Return of the Jedi,
Yeah.
there's
The
one of the
dancer.
Jabba scene.
One of the dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So very similar, I think, same production quality, I think, because it's just prosthetics, but not super well translated, I think.
I don't really like
Yeah.
the Twi'leks. Yeah, that didn't work for me.
But anyway, okay, so, and then we've got the droid, Zero, who was fine. The new Republic soldier that the Twi'lek kills is played by Matt Lanter, who voiced Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars animated TV show.
Interesting.
So it's cool that they're tapping these resources and keeping these people in
They're in the family.
the Star Wars family. It's something that
they do that a
they
lot.
keep coming
it
back
seems.
to. Yeah, it's really great because in Rebels, Frank Oz voices Yoda, and just a lot of people come back to do their original stuff. So
you like the episode.
I did.
Robin, did you like the episode?
I liked the episode, but my biggest critique overall so far, just of the series in general, is I want less recognizable people. I liked The Force Awakens a lot because other than Han Solo and Chewie.
Yeah,
and,
everyone was an unknown actor.
yeah,
You
and
couldn't
I
recognize.
you go in without a bias, whereas they're like, oh, Bill Burr's in this episode, and I'm like, oh, great, what the fuck does he do?
Right. Yeah. I
His
thought
introduction immediately was comical. Where
He's
you
like-
knew he was going to be in the series, right? You're like, oh, so this is how he's getting introduced.
Yeah.
And I forget the exchange. We just watched it this morning. I don't really remember. But there's some exchange where they're like, oh, this is the Mandalorian. He's like, yeah. And I'm like,
also-
is this a stand-up routine or is this Star Wars?
he also waves when Rand introduces him to he does this weird wave. Anyway, I'd be curious to know how much of his presence was improvised. But
He said on the H3 podcast that he's never seen Star Wars. He's totally out of the world.
I mean,
and
that's-
I felt that from his character. He did not feel like he was from Star Wars to me. I don't think he did a terrible job.
no, I
He had
liked
some
his
good lines of
character also.
dialogue. There were a couple oh, sure, I guess that's what we're doing or whatever moments when
Yeah.
they were on the prison.
There were some sinister moments, even when they're on the ship where he's talking to the Mandalorian and he's like, take your helmet off. It's just sort of very, he did a
Bully,
good job
yeah.
at playing sinister.
Yeah.
I
His
think-
initial introduction was weird to me,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
And then they were like, he's an Imperial sharpshooter. And he's like, that doesn't mean anything to me. And he's like, I wasn't a stormtrooper, dick. Or he says ass face or something. I was like,
Yeah.
ass face is an insult in
The
Star
Twi'leks
Wars?
got those.
that.
What do you-
But that was that sounds like you were making fun of him for being a Boston guy. Like, oh, is his thing that he's in a gang where they all have Boston accents or whatever. And
That's
that
pretty
was
much what he was. He was the gang leader with the Boston accent.
right. And
He didn't even try to not be that dude from Boston. He just was.
yeah, if that was an improvised thing, I wouldn't be surprised. That's a line of dialogue in a serious space opera Western thing. Ass face. Great.
Yeah.
What you get
He
when
could
you
have
hire
called
Bill
him
Burr.
Nerf herder or something. Keep it in the, give me some fan service. will ya?
Yeah. Were you going to say something else about Bill Burr?
No, I was just gonna say I liked when he's like, I wasn't a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
I like that
That
callback.
was the best part.
But then also that he was a sharpshooter, but he didn't really seem serious to me though. Bill Burr as a character, I wanted it to be more of a Rex kind of guy. That's I was in the Imperial Army, dude. Conquer the galaxy, the galaxy.
Rex wasn't in the Imperial Army.
Well, same idea. You know
Should
what I
watch the
mean.
Clone Wars.
No, Rex is cool though, but a respectable army commando guy. This is Bill Burr. He more reminded me of the Rogue One, or not Rogue One, the Solo team where you're they're just a
Well,
bunch of jerks.
I think it was a little bit of a callback, maybe not a callback directly to that, but yeah, they were not the most competent, not the most trust. They weren't.
He was real
they weren't-
incompetent.
They weren't a team. They were just a hodgepodge of
Yeah.
people that are going to betray each other.
Perfect.
It wasn't like a military presence. But what I will say is, well, do we want to go through any of the other characters first? I was going to say something about the Mandalorian. Okay, well, what I will say about the Mandalorian is he was much more competent. I couldn't wait to talk to you guys about this because I thought he was much more competent this episode.
Because
than he
none of the
has
other
been.
characters believed in him this episode.
But he's also seemingly much more competent in fighting droids than in fighting living things.
Sure.
Regardless of
Oh,
his
he hates
code,
the droids.
the flamethrower worked when he was fighting the droids. He's
Right, right.
whipping him back and forth with the grappling hook.
They
and
grapple
he's-
hooked a couple of times too many in this episode.
No, I loved it. We'll get to the end part. Well, the close to end part. I thought he was kick-ass. I thought it was a kick-ass Mandalorian performance.
Yeah, there's some good action.
the New Republic security droids are approaching the crew for the first time, and Bill Burr goes to talk to the Mandalorian. He's like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be this, like, whatever.
You're not
supposed
doing
to be really
anything,
good
Mandalorian."
And the Mandalorian's gone, and he appears behind the droids.
Yeah.
He's just like a very competent sort of
He's a little bit
bounty
more
hunter,
common
mercenary
together.
soldier in this episode, and I thought that was really great. I also liked it when he was beating up those droids and he takes them all out.
Yeah, there was also a really cool scene. We're kind of like jumping all over the place, but there was a cool scene where the lights were flashing and he's sneaking up on Bill Burr. It was very like Alien or something, like some kind of like older sci-fi kind of horror thing. Lights are flashing and he's like inching closer. I thought that prison looked cool. So
The
we
prison
didn't
looked
give
real
like an
cool.
overview. They're trying to break a bad guy out of a Republic
Right,
prison.
they're trying to break the Twi'lek's brother Quinn out of a New Republic prison ship.
Again, the Mandalorian was like, "This is too much of a thing. I don't want to do this job."
Right, he doesn't want
Still
that.
takes the job.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this dude? Yoda's on the ship, and then they find Yoda
Well,
on the
okay.
ship.
Should we start over? Should we just press
No.
restart? Because what I wanted to say is for like the first 10 minutes, this was the Where's Baby Yoda show.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, he's just doing this mission, but
Where's
we haven't
Baby
seen
Yoda?
and he needed to do another mission for money. I don't get why he even did this.
well, he needs money to fund his running away.
I guess
He's
that's
got to
the
fuel
only
the
thing.
ship and stuff.
I don't know. It was a little bit weird. I enjoyed it, like you said. It was an okay episode, but again, another
I
super
thought it was
side
a really
mission.
good episode, but they're all side missions so far.
guess.
Nothing's linear. But the droid has to pilot the ship because they have to do a maneuver to avoid being picked up by the Republic prison ship. They have to do a special maneuver that only the droid can do, which he does, and he lands on like the airlock, and then the droid's like, "I have full control of the ship," meaning the Republic prison ship.
Right.
But then the Mandalorian has to hook up his TI-83 calculator to the airlock to get it to open. I thought that was a little bit, just a stupid little thing. Like, the droid has control of the ship, but he can't open the airlock.
Right.
Anyway, they meet a new Republic soldier, played by the guy who voices Anakin
Wearing that
Skywalker.
funny toilet helmet.
Yeah.
That was the guy
Why
in
do
the
they still
control
wear
room?
those? Yeah. He's got a tracking beacon. If he presses the button, the Republic's gonna send backup.
Right.
Mandalorian's like, "We're not gonna kill him." Bill Burr's like, "We gotta kill him." And then the Twi'lek just kills him, and he had pressed the button. So fast forwarding, they have to rush because they got 20 minutes before the New Republic
clicks
shows
the
up.
button,
He
and
clicks
so
the
the-
button. They've got 20 minutes before the New Republic shows up. They break Quinn out and they throw the Mandalorian in the jail cell and close it and
Right.
leave him there. I thought that was another really great scene where the Mandalorian breaks out of the jail cell. He grappling hooks the droid and gets its
Uses the
arm with the little...
Funny droid USB key to
Yeah.
break out.
And then the Mandalorian takes control of the ship and takes them out one by one by closing them off from each other, closing blast doors and separating them from each
Right.
other. And, you know,
Oh, that's what I was going to say. This episode was a smash between a prison break heist and it was Doom meets Five Nights at Freddy's meets Alien. That's what it felt like to me.
all right.
All the readouts that they have of the ship were very like when you got to look at the map in Doom.
Yeah.
And it's just triangles and stuff. Anyway.
I thought it was great him taking control of his ship and separating them. And did you guys predict? I thought that he wasn't
left
killing
everyone
them
alive?
and he was putting them in the prison cell.
I didn't predict that. I was like, he's just murdering these people because then he shows up at the hideout or whatever.
Yeah.
The Bespin looking hideout. The guy from Sons of Anarchy with the big beard. Bran is like, "Where's the rest of the guys?" And he's like, "You don't ask questions. That's the deal, dude." And he's
Right.
like, "Yeah, you're right. We don't ask questions." But then they cut back and everyone's alive and you're like, "Oh, that's so Mandalorian."
I knew he was going to do that for a couple of different reasons. One, because he didn't want to kill anybody except droids. And two, because of the thing Robin was discussing earlier, which is he left, what's Carl Weathers' character's name?
Grief Karga.
He left Grief Karga, and he's been missing. Whereas I've been saying I think the Mandalorian's going to amass a crew. I actually think the bad guys, the Client and Grief Karga, are amassing a crew. And now they have the prisoners that the Mandalorian betrayed in one spot. If they could break into that, then Grief Karga's got a whole slew of bounty hunters or whomever else loyal to the Empire that could break in. So now the bad guys have this crew.
Maybe.
That don't like
I don't
the
like that
Mandalorian.
crew, though.
And
Forget
they
that crew.
know he has Baby Yoda. Like, there's too much that they know to not bring them back, I think.
They had no idea the deal with Baby Yoda. Everybody else seems to have an idea.
But the droid did, but
Right.
he killed the droid. But anyway, the droid relayed a bit of information to Mayfield before he got shot.
Dude, well,
But
it's
anyway,
fine, because if they set something up with those guys, we're not going to find out till next season at the pace this damn show's going.
So I also totally called that he was going to put that tracker
That he was going to bring it back.
in that ship. Yeah.
Because he's searching the rebel soldier's body at one point, I think, right? They
Well,
don't
he
really
picks
show
it
you,
up off
though.
the floor.
Okay, yeah.
He picks it up off the floor. Backing up a little bit, let's talk about the droid hunting Baby Yoda on the ship. Because I thought that whole thing was great. Where it cuts a little bit to the Mandalorian taking everyone out on the prison ship.
Yeah.
But then it goes to the Razor Crest and the droid like trying to find Baby Yoda. And Baby Yoda's like peeking around corners, and like Baby Yoda's right there in the cockpit, and then the droid gets his gun, turns around, Baby Yoda's gone.
Yeah.
I really like that whole thing. Yes, no?
Yeah, I think the best part of the entire episode was where
Yes, let's talk about this.
Yeah,
let's go there.
Baby Yoda's like, I got this. I'm going to use the Force. And then Mandalorian comes up behind the droid, shoots the droid and kills him. And Baby Yoda looks at his hand like, did I do
Yeah,
that?
no, I really think that as much
That's
as
the
I
best
hate
part.
as much as I hate to say that that's the best, I really think that's the best. Like that whole sequence. First of all, them making us think for the second time we're going to get to see Baby Yoda use the
Do
Force.
something crazy.
And then it looks at its hand after the Mandalorian shoots. Before we see the Mandalorian, we just see the droid
Did his
explode.
mouth also drop at the same time?
Maybe. Either way, that's just a really
That was a fun
smart,
scene.
smart.
Good use of Baby Yoda and not overusing him. Like I was waiting for Baby Yoda to save the day in like the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't save the day, you know? He only did that rhino thing once and it like almost killed him or something.
No, I thought that was perfect, especially because watching it, you're like, oh my God, he's going to do it again. What's he going to do? And
Yeah.
then for like half a second, you're like, holy shit, did he make the droid explode?
Right.
And then he obviously does the same thing. And then he's like, oh, no, just the Mandalorian's
It's so
here.
great. It's just so good. So anyway, that happens, and then he brings Quinn to Ran to get paid, and he gets paid. But he hid that tracking beacon on Quinn. And so the New Republic shows up in X-Wings. And a couple of things. The three pilots are, seemingly the leader is Dave Filoni, and then Rick F., who wrote and directed this episode, is one of them. And then Deborah Chow
Really?
is the other one, and she's
All the
directed some of these
showrunning
episodes.
people.
And
Interesting.
she's, yeah. So I thought that was neat. But another thing, they just take out that ship. Like, would the New
The
Republic
Razor
just
Crest drove by too, and they're like, "No, that guy's cool."
Yeah, would they just blow up that ship and all the people on
That's
board?
how it works. You hit the beacon, and it's an instant death.
Like, does that beacon just mean like everything, all is lost, just please come
I
kill
give up.
everyone? Yeah.
I thought it was a good episode.
It was okay. The reason I'm not happy with the episode to just be like, "Oh, I loved it. It was great. Bring me another." I do want another. I don't like that they leave off on these cliffhangers and they're not bringing the full story to fruition, and they're just going to save it for one big finale. Maybe this is why they're already doing season 2, because they're not really going anywhere in the grand scheme of things. Infinite side stories to tell. But that's why I like shows like 24, where it's like, this episode, so much stuff happened, you have to see the next one. It picks up immediately where it left
Yeah.
off. And from start to finish, the story really changes over the course of a season, but it's so satisfying as a whole arc. They're not picking up where they left off. They're just like, it's a Law and Order type thing, you know, which is okay. That's obviously what it is. I have not yet come to terms with it because there's only 5 episodes and
Yeah.
we're just crazy as Star Wars fans.
Well, what we expect is the linear trajectory, right?
Right.
We want a story, A to B, linear.
Where's
This
Grief
could
Karga?
be-
Who's the guy in the cape? What
I mean,
the hell?
I don't think it would be terrible. That's just our expectations, and we might not like the way it's playing out because of our expectations
Totally.
being this linear trajectory, where I don't think it is and would necessarily be a bad thing if it was this.
Oh, if this was season like 12 and you're like, that's just what they do.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it's not bad if it's sort of a different mission each week with sort of maybe an overarching story, but a slowly overarching story. Like, this Baby Yoda thing's going to come to fruition and then it will be over.
Right.
But this way we can milk as much out of it as and okay, let's talk about the end of this episode a little bit where they're in the Razor Crest and they're flying away and he takes a little ball off the thing and he hands it to Baby Yoda.
He's succumbed to the Baby Yoda fever.
He says, "I told you that was a bad idea." And I loved that part.
Right.
I
Now
loved
they're
that
buddies.
whole thing.
Yeah.
How do you think they got that ball to stick on? You think it's magnets? So Baby Yoda's holding it like
I was
upside down?
really hoping he was going to levitate it with the Force
It's
a little
called
bit.
magnets, bitch. It's from Baking Bad, I think.
Baking Bad? Baking Bad.
That's my new baking
Oh my
show.
God, that would be
Netflix
so,
baking.
Robin, you got to pitch
The
that.
secret ingredient in
gotta bake
everything
with
you bake
meth.
is meth.
I'm so glad you made a Breaking Bad reference. That's awesome. So another reason why I think I was unhappy with this episode, which I brought up before we started recording, but for anyone who's keeping up with Rick and Morty, one of the latest Rick and Morty episodes was a heist episode. And I don't know if there's anything to spoil for you, Joey, but basically Rick is like, heists are stupid. And I think Morty's like, no, heists are cool. And he's like, oh, of course, they assemble a team and it's all the perfect people. And then they double cross each other. And the whole thing's making fun of heists. And we had watched it like a couple days before watching this episode. Definitely impacted how I viewed it. Because you're like, yeah, they're putting this team together. Some of them don't get along. And then the stuff goes awry. And at the end, everyone's double crossing everyone.
Yeah.
So in that Rick and Morty episode, it's like, I knew you were going to double cross me. So I double, you know.
Yep.
That's a great episode. And going into this prison break heist on The Mandalorian, I was like, oh, a heist? I was kind of tainted from just having watched that.
See, I liked this episode a lot, and I didn't really like that episode of Rick and Morty.
Huh.
There were like aspects that I thought were pretty funny, but overall it was not my favorite so far.
Yeah.
But I liked the episode of The Mandalorian a lot.
Okay, fair enough.
So let's do this. I liked
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. I liked the look of the episode. I like the look of that space station.
The Razor
I think it's
Crest
cool.
looked awesome.
Razor Crest.
When it landed on the hideout or whatever.
I like the look of the prison ship. I also really like the look of those security droids. I think a lot of stuff looks good in this episode.
Those big fat ones, I told Robin, I was like, that looks like the thing from Doctor Who.
Oh, the Dalek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a little. I also really liked every time they cut to the Mandalorian, his theme played, which is a very Western theme, very like earth-toned Western theme. And the rest of the episode didn't sound like that, except when they cut to him, which
Yeah.
I really liked. So, another thing you were saying at the end of last episode, you were like, maybe Baby Yoda got hurt. We thought he might have gotten hurt.
Right.
But in this one, they straight up drop him on the ground.
Yeah.
I screamed. I was like, how dare you drop him?
And it's fine. Like, the Mandalorian didn't even care or has
Maybe
dropped him before or whatever.
It'd be cool if the Mandalorian was like, I'm going to protect this guy, but I know he can handle himself.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the case because he's just leaving him everywhere. So he's like, I don't know, he took down a mudhorn. So, but yeah, he just like Bill Burr straight up drops the
So
Baby Yoda.
the Mandalorian did immediately kind of scramble and was like, oh shit. And like,
He didn't want to make it seem like he was really important,
though.
though. They were like, he's your pet, right? And he's like, yeah, he's my pet, yeah. Something like that.
They're going to find out. The bad guys are amassing a crew. I thought the good guys would, but now I think the bad guys. I'm pretty certain that the bad guys are. All right, anything else to say about the prison?
I don't want Bill Burr to continue. I hope that's the only episode he's in.
I want all of those characters
I
to go
don't want
away.
him to be canon. He didn't work for me.
Yeah.
If there's one thing about the episode I really want to not have, and I like Bill Burr. I think he's funny, but that took me out of it a little bit.
I don't really like Bill Burr, but I do think that either way, he's going to die. Like, even if he's part of a bad guy crew,
Yeah,
the
nobody.
Mandalorian, well, I don't know. Maybe the bad guys will win. In Star Wars is sort of famous for the bad guys winning, right? But I don't know. So we're going to get into this a little bit in our talk about the Rise of Skywalker. I'm going through watching the Clone Wars animated show. There's this storyline of Palpatine searching for Force-sensitive children. There's a holocron that contains information on the Force-sensitive children that are out in the galaxy, and he wants to find them. And in one of the episodes, he has a few. I don't think by the end of the Clone Wars show that's addressed. It might be addressed in the new season, and I'm not sure That particular thing is addressed in Rebels. But that holocron also comes up in Jedi Fallen Order. And the Ahsoka book has to do a little bit with Force-sensitive children out in the galaxy. Now the Mandalorian, obviously, partially has something to do with Force-sensitive. This has been an overarching theme for a long time.
Sure.
And I hope and would really love that it comes up in Rise of Skywalker in one form or another. I'll get to my theories about Rey, but I guess, was she one of the children on the list? Was it used by the Emperor somehow? Was he amassing them because he knew his fate? We'll get into it all. My point is, The Mandalorian's touching on this. It's been this theme in everything Star Wars, and everything Star Wars basically that George Lucas hasn't been a part of. So anyway,
got it.
That's that. All right.
I'd like to thank our sponsor who makes this beer.
I'd like to thank Robin for making these cookies.
Brought to you by
Someone
Baking
else
Bad
talk for a little while.
with Robin Concoy.
The secret ingredient is meth.
No! All right, Rise of Skywalker. Let's talk about theories in two ways. How we think the movie's going to go, and then particular character theories, I think. Mostly Rey, I guess. All right?
I want Robin to stem this because I feel like she's going to have the strongest opinion that will
the
be
person
much
with the
more
strongest
different
opinion
than ours.
goes. Go.
I literally have zero.
See? Already it's strong. The opinion is strong with her.
I have zero opinions,
Wow. All right.
expectations, or theories. I try not to think about it. Like, I hope it's good because it's J.J. Abrams, so I'm assuming it's going to be good. But
That's an expectation.
I try not
he's
to
done
get
some bad
into
stuff.
like the theory of it though. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
You're just going to wait to see it unfold.
Yeah, like I've heard a lot of theories going around, but
It's fun.
it's not my thing.
So also, to preface this conversation, you have avoided the TV spots, minus what you've seen on accident on TV.
Pointing to Robin.
Yeah.
Correct, Robin.
Yeah.
And Joey, pointing to Joey.
Actively.
Actively avoiding.
If I'm scrolling on my phone on YouTube and it comes up saying TV spot, I throw my phone into a bucket of water.
Yeah.
I've had to get like 6 phones.
So I've been like, when I see they post a new TV spot, I've been binging them constantly because I was using the footage for my new song. Royce Good looks at YouTube. So I've seen all the TV spots, but I guess we'll try to keep this conversation not TV spotty. For anyone listening, if you've seen the TV spots, you know what I'm talking about. But the trailers and the TV spots are very different, in my opinion, tonally speaking and plot point speaking. So I don't know. My opinion's going to be skewed because I feel like I know a little bit more than you guys. Back to Robin. No expectations. Just going to see it.
Yeah.
That's probably the healthiest way to do this at this point, I think. We have 8 movies behind us and any other canon that you've consumed over the years. So you could be weighted down by expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I imagine myself crawling into the movie theater under the weight of my expectation and theories.
That's what we did for Last Jedi.
And it did not
We all
work
saw Last Jedi
out.
together.
We did.
And
I had lots of theories for Last Jedi.
And
Luke,
expectations.
the Luke cliffhanger, are you kidding me? The best cliffhanger of all time.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
The cliffhanger of just
Oh,
Rey
just
meeting
Luke?
Luke at Force Awakens.
Oh, I see.
Oh my God, you were like dying to see the next scene. Brilliant.
They
And
set
in
up
that
so many
movie-
things.
Right, you're waiting for so much. So we went in with way too many expectations. After Last Jedi, what happens? We got Solo, and you're like, Star Wars, man. So Robin, I'm glad we went to you first because if you want to enjoy life, no pre-existing, it has to be like this, has to be that. I want to see this happen. You can't do that. It's not going to work out.
There was a lot that I wanted to see in Last Jedi, and they pretty much took all of my hopes and dreams, threw them in a toilet, and then lit it on fire as it flushed. So
I think
This is
I'm
not
going to
go the
include
way
that
you
in the
think.
breakdown of the podcast.
I think it's going to be good because it's J.J. Abrams, and I thought he did a great job with Force Awakens, but I also feel like he has a lot of cleaning up of poo to do after Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So
I don't think any of us went in with expectations for Force Awakens, though, right? You were just excited to see more Star Wars. So that was probably played a big role in why we all enjoy that so much, right? Would you say?
Well, yeah, I would say there were some expectations based on the few trailers. It wasn't like this. It was not what they called a couple of trailers and then all of these TV spots and clips. There was no information
Right.
there was also expectation for many going into the prequels, and that didn't work out well. So
I appreciate your outlook, Robin. But so no, you don't want to drop a bomb on a theory between Kylo, Rey, Palpatine, First Order, or the Resistance?
The only theory I've really heard about, because I haven't really cared enough to pay attention. My brother sent me something, and then his feedback on it was like, oh my God, if she's a clone. So I guess the theory is that she is a clone of, that's really the only.
But you don't care?
I don't care.
Cool.
What are they possibly going to do with Palpatine? He's been dead for like 8,000 years.
He's going to play a bigger role than I think we all realize.
So
didn't we just watch one of the trailers, and like towards the end, Rey is like looking up at someone that has like tubes and shit on their back.
yeah.
So that was my first time I ever noticed that. And I thought, well, I guess maybe if they're trying to say Palpatine's alive, maybe that's him in his little floaty throne chair.
Yeah, it's definitely I think it's definitely Palpatine in that scene, and that chair could be keeping him alive, or it could just be the electronics on the chair. But maybe the Force-sensitive children that he's been accruing is the reason that maybe he would be after something like Baby Yoda has kept him alive. Or if you do watch the Clone Wars and Rebels and sort of any of this ancillary canonical stuff, you really get the feeling maybe they try to display the fact that Palpatine knew, like he really knew everything. He predicted everything, and everyone was set up to play the game exactly the way he wanted it played. And if that's the case, then he might have known that Luke would turn Vader, that Vader would throw him, and that was all part of his plan. And that's why maybe he needed these Force-sensitive children, because he knew one day he would need them for that. They can't be Inquisitors or anything like that, because the timeline doesn't work out.
That's literally a line in Return of the Jedi, where he's like,
Right,
everything is going
exactly
as I have foreseen.
But even if you want, like, specifically going back through the Clone Wars, you're like, oh, he puts Dooku here. Oh, he puts General Grievous here. They're all just
Pawns.
They're pawns, but it's all just, I think it's really points out that yes, everything was his design. And if he knew that the way everything was going to go, then he knew what Vader was going to do, and he had all planned for it. And it's going to culminate in this movie, which I think would be great.
I think that is cool. And Palpatine's in it. So if you're not on board with that, get on board with that. Maybe
get out.
Maybe write an alternative rock song based on the history of Palpatine. I don't know. And
I would say he was too dangerous to be left alive.
I think so.
Royce Good Looks on YouTube.
He's in it. And I'm not really stoked about that because, like Robin said, like I wish it was just new stuff. Like Mandalorian's cool when there's new stuff being involved.
I don't know.
Palpatine was not in Force Awakens. He was not in Last Jedi. He was not a thought for either of those movies.
But
he is now being brought in kind of retroactively, in my opinion. But he was in The Phantom Menace. And he was in Attack of the Clones. And he was in Revenge of the Sith. And he wasn't really so much as
and he
big
was in the Clone Wars.
Sure. You are
I'm
getting
just saying
paid
he's
for
been in
this.
a lot. And he, like I've said before on this podcast, he was the first, we were introduced to
Yeah.
him way before any other characters.
Yeah, it's like you said. So he's obviously a very important thing. They keep calling it the end of the Skywalker saga, but maybe they should call it the end of the Palpatine saga.
Maybe
huh?
it's not the end. Maybe Palpatine is a Skywalker.
Just the beginning.
Who knows?
Maybe Palpatine is Anakin's dad.
Yeah, well,
He
I
was
think there's
conceived
implication
by
that
the
he is.
midichlorians.
But Palpatine might have manipulated those midichlorians. Wasn't that I think that's a
That's not how the
prevalent,
Force works.
I think that's a prevalent theory that Palpatine
Yeah.
manipulated the midichlorians to
Probably.
create Anakin
Yeah.
Skywalker because he knew that he needed him.
And that's also what he says with Plagueis, is where he could even manipulate the midichlorians to create life
Right.
or defy life or
And
death.
He knew he had to become Plagueis' apprentice. He knew he had to learn everything that he knew. He knew he was going to kill him. He knew it would get him into the Senate. He set everything
He's
up.
smart. Yeah, he likes setting
My
up
point
the
is that
chessboard.
he's been behind the scenes. So, like we've discussed on this podcast before, I think if he's been behind the scenes for all these other things, then it's okay to think that even though his physical presence was not in The Force Awakens or The Return or whatever the stupid second one's called, The Last Jedi, that he was behind everything, pulling the strings, maybe even manipulating Rey and Kylo's force
I buy
connection.
into that, but he wasn't in the movies, so we all know that this is a Band-Aid.
I
Can
don't
we
know.
agree?
I
Can
don't-
we agree, though, for this trilogy, Snoke, set up in Force Awakens, Snoke murdered in the second one.
I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that someone didn't have the inkling of reintroducing Palpatine in this trilogy
wait,
at some
though?
point in time. I don't know. You're holding it out for the very end. We'll all see in a few days about that. I mean,
I want, as long as it's satisfying and it feels good in the film. Okay, no expectations. Joey
Lots.
clearly...
okay, this is sorry.
Yeah, let's
this
go
is
around.
something. This
Yeah.
is something else I wanted to say because we were talking about expectations, and when we have them, it doesn't always work out. But listening to books is very easy, and if you want to absorb more Star Wars, the Ahsoka book is great, and it's so much greater because it is Star Wars that got me thinking it would be cool if they did this. And then the book does that, and that's very good for me. I really enjoy that. But it also does stuff, it just does cool stuff, surprise stuff. I don't want to say surprisingly, because it's all good. It sets up good storylines, it completes those storylines. It's very heartfelt and it's very satisfying. It's very Star Wars satisfying. Just how she even gets her new lightsabers. It's just all these little things where you just that's so cool. That's exactly what I want from Star Wars. So my point is that throughout the book, I had expectations of where the book would go. And then the book went there and satisfied my expectations. So it's possible for good Star Wars to meet or exceed our expectations, which I think is also The Force Awakens, for many, exceeded expectations. So I guess I'm saying that it's possible, and also that I hope that's what's happening now. Because again, The Last Jedi might have let some of us down a little bit. A lot of people like it, but I do have a lot of expectations and a lot of theories for this movie, and I want them all to be satisfied. Or I want it to be done, like you said, in a satisfying way. Listen to that Ahsoka book. Go to your local comic book shop and ask them to order you a book or a CD of the book.
A CD?
I don't know how do books come.
So
What do you got? You got theories? Let's talk theories you got while I eat this cookie.
is that going to be a new thing? Because I've seen these TV spots, so there's stuff I want to say that I can't say now that I know.
Say anything that won't spoil anything. I avoid stuff like this because there's just too much.
Yeah, no, I feel like you don't know what's in the movie, so you don't really know if they've ruined something for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest mystery for me is this dark side Rey thing. I think there's a lot of Kylo being like, I'm now in charge of all the bad guys, but Rey doesn't want to join me, and I kind of wanted her to join with me. And now that Palpatine's introduced, they're both going to meet Palpatine at some point, maybe. And I don't know how that influences things. There's a line of dialogue where Palpatine says, "Your coming together will be your undoing."
Yeah.
And that's great dialogue. Do they team up and then they're friends? But then there's still Rey and Kylo. And then there's dark side Rey, though, at some point. I don't know how she fits in. That's the biggest cliffhanger for me that I want to know more about. Other than that, it would just maybe still be Kylo versus Rey, but they kind of seem to be mutually, I respect you, bro, at the end of Last Jedi, where they weren't battling each other, but they were we're going to go our separate ways. You're the bad guy, I'm the good guy, but whatever, we're done here.
Yeah.
So I don't know, as far as I don't want anything to happen because I think that would ruin the movie for me. I'm with Robin, I just want to see it unfold.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to know about the dark side Rey thing because that's the craziest thing. And other than that, I just hope everything is satisfying. Story-wise, action-wise, no crazy characters, no jokes about the high ground. The only thing I'm worried about is the last minute of the movie. How do they actually end it? If it's supposed to be the Skywalker saga, I think about the ending of Revenge of the Sith, which wasn't really an ending because it kind of moves into the next film. That was just kind of filler.
Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah. Obi-Wan's dropping off Luke with
I see.
Owen and Beru on Tatooine, and he's watching over them. There's the sunset. Bail Organa takes Leia, and the Emperor and Darth Vader are looking over the construction of the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of made sense. The end of Return of the Jedi, they're having a party, everyone's clapping. That's kind of funny, but at the time, I guess that just made sense because the story was over.
Yep.
But that's not the world we live in now. there could be more movies. So I'm really kind of weirded out at how they're going to end the culmination of all 9, because is it really the end? Kind of like has been said before. Or like, are they all partying at the end? Are they all crying at the end? Do the bad guys win? You know, who knows where this leaves off?
Yeah.
I do know that 1,000,000%, I'm going to put this out there, and maybe I'm wrong. It'll be cool if I'm wrong. The music at the end is going to be building up to this crazy climax, because I think they're going to try to leave you off as pumped as you go into Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is with the immediate fanfare. You know, it ends kind of similarly in Return of the Jedi, or actually kind of all of them, where it kind of like swells into the ending, you know?
Yeah.
And they fade out to the credits. They're going to try to leave you on a high note. I don't know how you do that.
Because it's the end.
That's the hardest thing to do is end anything. And J.J. Abrams isn't known for ending things. He's known for starting things. Ending anything is really freaking hard.
Yeah.
You know? So good luck with that. I hope it's good. Because people only remember 2 things: the very beginning and the very end.
Well, not
Rogue
us,
One?
not
Rogue
us
One?
big Star Wars fans who nitpick every single scene.
This is true. But a lot of the times, ending of Rogue One, Darth Vader, the beginning of Rogue One, that stupid not crawl with the weirdo Rogue One text. Everybody remembers those things about it. And the middle is like, oh, you remember the part where they go to the Rings of Kafrene?
You're picking a movie that...
Is that a place they went to?
That's not a fair choice.
But you remember the beginnings and endings,
Yeah.
and it's really easy to have a really strong beginning with like pew, 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 action, fanfare, to have the ending as satisfying, difficult, and I'm nervous for that. So those are my thoughts. I went on some tangents there.
No, I think it's fine.
But that's all I got for it. And I'm trying not to have the expectations. Had so many for Last Jedi and was very let down. And we had such a long walk back to the hotel where I just hated that movie for that whole walk.
And we weren't allowed to talk about it because we all needed drinks first.
Yeah. And we did get drinks. I think you and I, Robin, though, were talking about how much we liked that scene with Yoda.
Yeah. That was the best part of the movie.
To much of Royce's chagrin.
That was probably the only part of the movie that I
still
was
don't
like,
like
hell
that
yeah.
part. This is another thing I wanted to mention. Like how stuff grows on you over time and you appreciate more stuff.
Like this mold here.
It's been growing on me, man. It's not so bad. Like at first, kind of stunk. But, you know, some people have turned around in the prequels a little bit. Some people, maybe not everybody. But even with The Last Jedi, putting together this latest music video for my YouTube channel, Royce, good looks. But like sometimes I go back to look at this footage and I'm like, oh, you know what? This is actually like this one little part of the plot is cool and makes the entire thing stomachable. You know, and it grows on you over time. And it is too early to appreciate The Last Jedi. Especially if you didn't like it. Even if you did, though, like you don't even know what it is yet. Star Wars, the original trilogy, 40 years old, so easy to appreciate that. It's just been around, you've grown with it, and analyzed it far more than you could analyze any other piece of Star Wars content.
Dare me. Dare me.
Anyway, I'm going way off track. Someone's got to stop me here.
No. Somebody stop me. We should put in the mask.
Somebody stop me.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's all good, man. You went on the tangent that I would have went on, so it's a good thing I was eating all these cookies over here.
You just have to learn how to appreciate it. So it's impossible. I don't really like The Last Jedi right now. And the last time I tried to watch it, I had to turn it off. So I hope that one day I can appreciate it more because it's not worth going through life hating everything that you watch and talk about for 90 minutes and have to edit down into a podcast on your Sunday.
I think that this will be a good long one. I had the same feelings that you just alluded to about the prequels, and then Lorelai and I watched them, and The Phantom Menace is truly, whatever, I've said it all. And then Attack of the Clones, I fell asleep. And I think it wasn't because like it was boring or I was tired. It was just because my body was like, this is horrible. I'm shutting down. Like it's hard to watch those. It's extremely easy to watch a thing. Like you don't have to do
to watch it.
Anything. You just sit or lay and keep your eyes open. I have many theories and expectations about this movie, and I hope it doesn't disappoint me. It probably inevitably will. I think Rey's a clone.
Disappoint you in what way, though? In that it doesn't end satisfyingly, or your dreams don't come true?
That my dreams don't come true. That I will be wrong. I really like making Star Wars predictions. I like to think of myself as Star Wars smart. And a portion of it looks like they're fighting on Kamino. There's more than one Rey. She does look really she looks really CGI'd in that scene, so it might not even be Rey. I think she's a clone, and it just makes sense that she's a clone based on once that trailer came out and we see her at the end with that lightsaber, my first thought was she's a clone. And then sort of everything else fell into place. She was put on this planet. She doesn't know her family. She goes into that pit in The Last Jedi and sees all those versions of herself in that mirror thing. And I think it just all points to clone. Yeah, and Kylo's like, you know the truth. Your parents were they were nobody. Yeah, I don't know who she would be a clone of, like Palpatine or Luke or Vader.
Leia.
But it doesn't really matter, I don't think. But I think that she's a clone. What was I going to say about, I said the thing about Palpatine and the Force-sensitive children and all that stuff. Also, my overall expectation is for it to be good. I mean, objectively, I think it looks like a good movie based on the trailers that I've seen the D23 footage, I've seen a teaser, and I've seen what they called final trailer, which just meant that they were going to put out a gajillion clips on TV. But anyway, those are the three things I've seen. And from those three things, I think that this looks like a good movie. Where in the past, we've gotten trailers that have made it not look like a good movie, or that made it look like a good movie, and then they completely reshot everything, and then it was not a good movie.
Yeah. So you brought up a couple of points there. There's so much in the trailers, not just the TV spots, definitely the TV spots, because there's some more nuggets in the TV spots as well.
Ooh, nuggets.
But in the trailers, there's a lot going on there's stuff with the rebels and space battles and secret armies of stuff. And then there's the Jedi Sith side with Palpatine going on. There's obviously multiple storylines like every good Star Wars movie. So there's still other stuff than just your hopes and wants with Rey and Kylo and Palpatine and the Force stuff. I'm still hoping that the Rebel side will be prominent and not just an afterthought. Have a little of everything, but a well-balanced version of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Last Jedi had the Canto Bight side story and then the mutiny side story with the rebels, and those all did not tie well together.
No, I agree.
So that wasn't as satisfying. They sort of had a battle at the end, but that was also kind of a weak battle anyway against the weird...
No, it was on Salt. Remember that? Remember when they specifically point out?
Space salt.
Yeah, glad we know that it's salt.
Right.
Thanks for the geology lesson. Am I right?
Those plot lines didn't tie together.
Agreed.
So there is space stuff, and there's stuff like Poe and Finn and Charlie from Lost.
Yeah.
There's other stuff that's going to go on that's hopefully cool that we're literally not talking about, but that's in there.
Well, I was going to
Forces.
say we're not bringing up any of those because the fixation
that's a big
is
part
on,
of the trailers.
Yeah, but there's nowhere to go with that. My theory with that would be they're going to stage a resistance assault, and I don't really know where the Space Forces come in, but there's all these Star Destroyers. So in that line of thinking, I go, okay, they're going to have a space battle. There are all these Star Destroyers. Oh, where'd the Star Destroyer come from? There's going to be a resistance fight with Poe and Finn and whoever else. And that's that. There's no surprise. There's no
twist.
No real substance to that. I mean, it's very important to the thematics of the movie and what we're going to watch and what we're going to enjoy. But there's nothing like Palpatine, mysterious.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
1,000
You're making me think that's going to be an afterthought then. At least in Return of the Jedi.
I don't think it's going to be an afterthought.
All those plots tie together. They got to get the shield generator down and they got to blow up the Death Star. Those two integral.
But that's integral to the storyline, and it was a big part of the movie. That is all going to happen.
Right.
And that's all going to be the Resistance is going to have a space fight and they're going to win. And it's okay, but then over here we have Rey and Evil Rey, and is she a clone? And Palpatine, and what's going on with Kylo?
They don't look like they tie in.
And where are all the Star Destroyers? I think they're going to tie in. But it's going to be the same. It's going to be they have to have this space battle. Well, Vader and Luke are having it out in the throne room. They're Poe and Finn are going to be having the space battle, well, Rey and Kylo are having it out in the throne room. There's a lot more to go through. There's a lot more to theorize with the Force lore stuff than there is with the space battle stuff. I think that
Agreed.
the Resistance space battle stuff is all interesting.
Space
and it'll
battles
be a
are
good
pretty
book,
straightforward.
and it'll look great.
They're
but
gonna
I
pull
want
up-
to know about Rey and the dark side
There's no up
of
in
the
space.
Force. Does Finn have the Force?
The Force brought them together.
It's not how the Force works.
Okay, so you always bring up the diversion in trailers. Rogue One obviously was reshot, so it's kind of a different story. But they do put a lot of stuff in the trailers that doesn't exactly play out the same way. You develop a theory based on that.
Sure.
You know, and a thought process based on what they sell you in the trailer. And you got to just put whatever in the trailer to get fannies in seats. But I wonder if there is a bit of that with the Palpatine dialogue, because you don't see Palpatine. So if it's not his mouth on screen chattering,
Yeah.
so I wonder how much of that is maybe not diversion, but just hype. You
Yeah.
know? So who knows? Like coming together, like that could not be in there.
Yeah. No, lots of this. And for example, when they crest that hill and they see the water and the fallen Death Star,
Yeah.
like that might not even be, it would not be surprising to me if that's not a crashed Death Star in the actual movie. If that's just a cover up and it's going along with my theory, like a Kaminoan cloning facility that's that's sunk or broken or something. That's the kind of stuff they do, where they show something like that in the trailer as a misdirect and replace it in the actual movie just to misdirect you. Anyway, who knows? We have no idea. A very fun thing for me is to speculate and theorize and all that stuff. It's what I do with everything.
It's what
not
you do.
only Star Wars, but I don't know how Lorelai feels about it. And maybe I should apologize, but I do it with all the things that we watch. I mean, if we're watching Veronica Mars, I'm trying to theorize or be the detective and figure out where the show's going to go.
You already said it. You want to be right.
I do want to be right, but my point is that I do it with everything, not just Star Wars. But
Sure.
I think it's a fun thing. It brings me joy to do. And so that's why I talk about it.
I don't
into
want to
this
be
microphone.
right, but I do want to enjoy the ride. And that's hard because you do, like, even if you're like, no, I'm just going to go enjoy it, you're still going to. I tried that with The Mandalorian, and it's tough. We're still complaining about stuff with The Mandalorian. It's still hard to be like, oh, I'm just thankful for Star Wars. I haven't reached that level of clarity yet.
It's no longer November, but I feel like I want to say I am thankful for Star Wars. Is that how we should end the segment?
I think so, I guess. It's pretty cheesy, but.
I am thankful.
Dude, because otherwise you watch the movie and you're like, I'm so mad, and you get bent out of shape over this crazy thing, which...
You look at this new shape I'm in now.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it. I'm all contorted, and before I was... No, point being, you watch the movie, you overanalyze it, you just make yourself go crazy. You can't do that. You have to... It's an audio podcast, Robin.
Sorry.
You have to go into it with minimal expectations, take with it from you can, and appreciate it for what it is. Like you said, like just be thankful for it, even though that's so cheesy. But otherwise, you get ticked off for no reason. And so much work goes into it. So once you realize all the effort it took to actually make the thing that you hate, it kind of like negates your opinion because it's like, shut up at that point.
That's what I've been saying this whole time. Shut up.
And that's the podcast. I don't know how you end it because there's no cap. We just have to see it, and we'll know in a couple of days, and we'll do another podcast that's going to still be all Star Wars.
In 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, who knows when? So this is a good segue.
Yeah, I guess we should say we're going to see The Rise of Skywalker on December 19th.
So when the movie's out, let's blast some opinions on Twitter.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter at Krypton Alderaan, and
we'll have a spoiler-free review of The Rise of Skywalker.
A spoiler-free review.
Using only emojis.
Yep. We'll try to do it obviously as broadly and spoiler-free as we can. And we'll also let everybody know when we're going to record when a new episode's going to be out.
For all your Krypton to Alderaan updates, seek out Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the surprise question today.
Woo! Wow, we're turning things around.
So the surprise question today is going to be brief, okay? Is Rise of Skywalker going to be a good Star Wars film in the top percentiles of Star Wars films, mid-tier Star Wars films, or at the bottom of the barrel with the holiday special. I'm going to go to Robin first.
I think it's going to be in the middle because I still think I'm going to rank the original trilogy and Force Awakens in the top 4. So unless somehow it can beat out one of those films, it's probably going to be like number 5.
Fair. Joe.
I just have a couple of points to make on your
I'm going to die in here.
on your grading.
Are you double parked?
On your grading rubric? I think we should only go with canonical items in the holiday specials, not canon.
Are you positive?
I think it's going to be in top tier. My expectations for it are top tier. I did that quick for me. Now you go.
I was still deciding. I want to say top tier because I think it has potential to kind of surprise you and lift the curtain on things that we might not have thought about beforehand in Star Wars and maybe retroactively makes some stuff cool. If they're going to do this retroactive Palpatine Band-Aid, maybe it makes everything work out.
I think it'll just barely graze the top 5, but that's considering the prequels and The Last Jedi are not very high bars.
Yeah, I think like you said, I might have to go mid-tier, and mid-tier is a safe bet. But if I'm wrong, I will be happy to admit it. So we'll see ya on Twitter.
Yeah, who's ever wrong buys pizza.
Fair enough.
All right. You want to bring you want to bring us home?
So we said it 1,000 times, but send us a tweet at Krypton Alderaan and send us some email, krypton2alderaan@gmail.com. Leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Twitcher, Tweelicker, and whatever you got.
Please.
iTunes as well.
That's the show. We hope you enjoyed this. I've been Joey.
I've been Royce.
I've been Robin.
And we've been
Krypton to Alderaan.